Every family has a moment they pretend never happened. A moment so sharp, it slices through the illusion of harmony and leaves everyone blinking in the sudden, painful light. For the Harpers, that moment happened beside a barbecue grill, under a string of flickering patio lights, with a plate of half-burnt burgers between them. My name is Elias Rowe, 52, a regional court clerk, and a divorced man with no children, but more than enough stories collected from the people who never imagine anyone is watching. I've learned that families don't break in earthquakes. They crack in whispers, smirks, and careless words flung like arrows. And I was there the night one of those arrows found its mark. The insult came fast, slurred only slightly by the beer in Preston Harper's hand. He was the kind of man who believed a drink in public gave him more charisma, and a drink in private gave him more power. Neither was true. Ryder, 11 years old and trying to balance a paper plate piled with potato salad, had simply asked his uncle if the fireworks would start soon. Preston laughed, the loud, performative kind of laugh people use when they want an audience. "Kid," he said, shaking his head, "the only fireworks your mom ever made were the night she got drunk and landed you. Biggest accident in the Harper bloodline." The backyard froze. Someone's fork clattered to the patio stones. A dog barked. Then even that stopped. Shelby, quiet, gentle Shelby, jolted as if struck. Ryder's face crumpled, confusion warring with humiliation. And in that strange, awful silence that always follows a cruel joke, Preston kept going. "And honestly," he added, lifting his bottle in a mock toast, "your mom is the family failure. We all know it." Ryder's plate slipped from his hands. Potato salad splattered across his shoes. The boy stared at the ground, as though trying to disappear into it. Shelby moved to her son like a shield, pulling him close, whispering something soft and trembling. Preston shrugged. What? Someone had to say it. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Shelby had been holding back a truth so heavy it had reshaped her entire life. A truth that would end that man's career, his marriage, his glossy reputation, and the empire he claimed to have built with his own 2 hands. And as Ryder buried his face against his mother's side, Shelby lifted her eyes. And I swear, because I was standing close enough to see it, a single spark flashed in them. Not anger. Recognition. She'd waited 4 years for a reason. Now she had one. Years before that backyard humiliation, the Harper family business teetered on the edge of collapse. Preston, the golden child of the Harper lineage, carried himself with the swagger of a self-made tycoon. But confidence is cheap when funded by high-interest loans and reckless decisions. The truth was uglier. Preston had nearly sunk the entire smart parking company with a series of catastrophic gambling debts. He'd tried to hide them, but books don't lie, and creditors don't forget. Shelby discovered it by accident. A misplaced invoice, a panicked phone call Preston left open on speaker as she walked in to drop off Ryder's forgotten backpack. She heard enough to understand. The business was days away from being seized. And Shelby, the so-called embarrassment of the family, made a choice. She sold her small inheritance, her house, her fledgling custom furniture shop. She liquidated everything that wasn't sentimental. In total, she scraped together $9 million. An absurd, impossible sum for a single mother, except she didn't do it alone. A friend of her late father helped arrange a silent partner structure, shielding her identity. The money was injected into the company through an anonymous LLC. In return, she took 62% ownership, quietly, legally, irrevocably. But she stayed silent. She let Preston stand at a press conference and declare that he had secured emergency capital from strategic private partners. She let him take the applause. She let him rebuild his mansion, hire a personal chef, buy a sports car he didn't need. Because Shelby didn't care about glory. She cared about Ryder. She cared about the legacy of their parents. She cared about keeping the family name alive, even if she wasn't invited to the front row of the family photos. For 4 years, she let Preston swagger through life, believing he had saved the company, believing he was the backbone of the family, believing she was nothing more than the quiet single mom who never quite lived up to the Harper standard. But when Preston humiliated her son, when he broke the one thing she considered sacred, something inside her shifted. She wasn't just hurt. She was done. And she wasn't going to stay silent anymore. Shelby didn't explode. She didn't confront Preston that night. She didn't scream or cry or demand an apology. She simply gathered Ryder, took his hand, and left the barbecue early. People mistook her calmness for retreat. It wasn't. It was precision. For weeks afterward, Shelby moved with quiet purpose. Late at night, when Ryder slept, she opened a metal lockbox, retrieved the papers she had kept untouched, ownership documents, equity transfer agreements, the signatures Preston had given without reading because he assumed she was just helping with paperwork. She reviewed everything, highlighting clauses, marking timestamps, scanning copies. Her father's old business friend connected her with lawyers, discreet, sharp, and hungry. They examined the files, nodded, and told her what she already knew. She didn't just own the company, she controlled it. Meanwhile, Preston continued his regular parade of arrogance. Late-night parties, new toys, social media posts posing beside the company logo he didn't realize no longer belonged to him. But rumors began to stir. Board members whispered about irregularities. Investors asked quiet questions. Employees noticed Shelby entering meetings she hadn't attended before. Allies gathered around her, people tired of Preston's chaos, people who had seen her sacrifice and sensed her strength. The tension built like humidity before a summer storm. And the storm had a date, the quarterly executive board meeting. Shelby sent the invitations herself. Preston didn't even read his. He walked into that room expecting to discuss expansion plans and new software pilots. He had no idea he was walking into the end of his reign. The boardroom was cold. Intentionally so, Shelby adjusted the thermostat herself. Preston sauntered in, sunglasses on his head, phone in hand, greeting board members as if he were the sun and they were planets orbiting him. Then he saw Shelby sitting at the head of the table. "What are you doing in my chair?" he laughed. Shelby didn't answer. She slid a stack of documents across the table. Her lawyers nodded for her to begin. "Preston," she said softly, "you no longer hold controlling power in this company. You haven't for 4 years. And effective today, you no longer hold any position at all." He snorted. "What are you talking about? You're—" She tapped the top page. The room fell silent as he read. His skin drained from red to pink to chalk. This is invalid," he stammered. "It's legal," one attorney confirmed. "And binding." Preston's chair scraped violently as he stood. "You tricked me." Shelby finally met his eyes. "No," she said. "I saved you. And you repaid me by humiliating my child." The board members were stone-faced. They had seen his behavior for years. Some looked relieved. Shelby stood, calm and composed, the embodiment of a woman reclaiming the breath she had held for too long. "You are hereby removed from your executive position," she said, effective immediately. By the end of the week, Preston's mansion was repossessed. His car was gone. His reputation shattered. His wife filed for separation. Everything he had built on lies crumbled like a sandcastle facing the tide. Meanwhile, Shelby's name was installed on the building's facade. A month later, Ryder walked beside her through the lobby, staring up at the letters. "Mom," he whispered, "you did all this?" "No," she said, wrapping an arm around him. "We did. You gave me something worth fighting for." And in that moment, with sunlight pouring through the glass, with employees nodding respectfully as they passed, with the weight of her past falling away, Shelby Harper rose into the life she had earned. Not with noise, not with vengeance, but with power finally acknowledged. And Preston, he never underestimated her again, because the quietest person in the family had always been the strongest. And now, everyone knew it.